Hi, this is Evan Marlowe, and you're listening to Movies That Don't Suck and Some That Do.
It's a show by Chris and Neil with all the great movies. They are the real deal. We watch them all, so you don't have to. It's movies that don't suck and some that do.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, it's another episode of Movies That Don't Suck and Some That Do. My name's Neil.
And I'm Chris.
And guys, today we got us another special Panic Fest 2023 edition of Movies That Don't Suck and Some You Do. Now, if you don't know what Panic Film Fest is, guys, Panic Film Fest is the horror movie Panic Fest that goes on every year. Right in, huh?
Every year. I'm just emphasizing.
Are you emphasizing? Or are you just trying to make make fun of my man parts again?
None at all. I'll shut up. You go ahead.
I'm just kidding. The Panic Film Fest, which is in Kansas City at one of the greatest movie theaters of all time, Armour Screamland. Now, Chris goes there. I don't get a chance to, and that's okay because I can still watch it virtually at panicfilmfest.com. That's correct, guys. Go to panicfilmfest.com. You can get information and guidelines. Even if the film festival is over, there's still plenty of information stuff on there and even stuff for next year that they're already working on. Mm-hmm. So go to panicfilmfest.com. You'll get all the information to do. Now, today, we are going to be reviewing one of me and Chris's favorite movie. Actually, I think both of us, one of our favorite movies in the top 5, at least, from this year's Panic Film Festival. And we just happened at the back end of this. The movie is called
Abruptio.
Abruptio. Thank you. I hate that I say words wrong. And by any means, so at the end of this review, you'll also get a wonderful interview with Evan Marlowe, who is actually the writer and director and creator of the crazy movie that is known as
Abruptio.
Abruptio. And not only do I try not to say it now, you should hear how many times I try not to say it while I'm interviewing the guy who has been spending the last 8 years of his life creating this.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Chris.
So who's in this movie? Saw that?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I needed a beverage. I talked a lot there. The people in this movie is, first, you know him as Spike from one of the most popular shows of all time. He plays the main character, James Marsters.
You honestly think I go to the end of the underworld and back to get my soul and then... Buffy, I can barely live with what I did. It haunts me. All of it. If you think that I would add to the body count now, you are crazy.
So what, you just troll the promenade looking for drunk co-eds because you're hungry for conversation?
Oh, is that what this is? Right.
What?
You're jealous.
Don't play games. Not now.
Yeah, you saw me chatting up another bird. You give me the eye to somebody else. Touched a nerve, didn't it?
Don't flatter yourself.
It burns, huh? But you can't admit it, so you trump up some charge about me being back on the juice.
Also playing in this movie, you know him as the one, the only Shooter McGowan, Christopher McDonald.
That was quite a show you put on today, Gilmore. You were the talk of the tournament.
Wow, thanks a lot.
Yeah, well, you really crushed that ball off the tee, I'll tell you what. You know, you'd be something in one of those long drive contests. Yeah, you could probably make a very good living, traveling around, hustling at driving ranges. Thanks, Phil.
That's, you know, I know what you're doing right now, and I don't like it. So why don't you just shut your trap before I put my foot in it?
Don't turn your back on me. Let's get one thing straight. This is Shooter's tour. I've worked hard my whole life, paid my dues, and now it's Shooter's turn. And Shooter's not about to let his reign at the top be spoiled by some freak, sideshow clown.
Did you just call me a freak? I was on this tour for one reason, money. But now I got a new reason, kicking your ass.
Well, I'd like to see you try. Let's do it.
Now, when filming this movie back in 2015, 2016, they didn't know this next guy was going to be now one of the kings of horror. The one, the only, a man that needs no introduction now, Mr. Jordan Peele.
Not that bad.
For me, it's all about perspective.
It's what you make of it.
Can I tell you something? All things considered, I'm actually kind of comfortable right now. Thank God for shock.
I can be the kind of prisoner I want to be.
Still alive.
Thank you. Right? Mm-hmm. Just two injured buddies.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
having a friendly convo while we're waiting to get tortured again.
And, you know, there's a kind of a positive in having no options.
Yes.
Because, you know, we're not even going to try to escape because we know we'd fail.
Yes. I'll tell you another thing. Don't miss the arm.
Really?
First of all, lefty. Okay, so this thing pretty much got in the way. Keep it, buddy.
And then one of the horror movie classic. I mean, this guy, if you don't know who he is, then you've never had a nightmare. Then the great, the one, the only, Mr. Robert Englund.
My reign of terror was legendary. Dozens of children would fall by my blades. Then the parents of Springwood came for me. Taking justice into their own hands. When I was alive, I might have been a little naughty, but after they killed me, I became something much, much worse. The stuff nightmares are made of.
Yeah, who else is in this one?
Oh yeah, dude. And then, of course, one of my favorites, a man we had to say goodbye to just I think in 2019 is when he passed away.
Right before I remember it was right before we went in lockdown,
one of the saddest, but one of my favorite guys in all of, you know, like if you even go back and watch some of this stuff in the 70s, dude.
Yeah, he's
like, crazy. He was in everything from Diamonds Are Forever. I mean, I can't even think of everything he was in.
But yeah, late career renaissance is Captain Spaulding, right?
Captain Spaulding is my favorite, and that's Sid
Haig.
I was going to say it, but I was about to sneeze. I don't know why I was about to sneeze. Sid Haig. So here he is.
What's the matter, kid? Don't you like clowns? Why? Don't we make you laugh? Aren't we fucking funny? You best come up with an answer, because I'm going to come back here and check on you and your mama. If you ain't got a reason why you hate clowns, I'm going to kill your whole fucking family. All right, now get your fucking ass out the car. Come on. Yeah. Shit. Woo.
But man, Chris, tell everybody where they can find us.
You can find us online at moviesdontsuck.net. We're on w2mnet.com. W2mnet.com. That's where you can find podcasts on that podcast network. Tons of other cool stuff, like there's some stuff on like sports, games, music, and movies. Like our podcast on there. Also, we're on Facebook at facebook.com/moviesdontsuck podcast. On Twitter at TS Podcast. On Instagram at TS Podcast. Go to patreon.com/moviesdontsuck. Give us a little bit of money if you want. I'm not going to be mad if you don't. Also, go to bonfire.com/moviesdontsuck on the you'll find nice shirts with our logo on it. And wherever you find podcasts on Movies Don't Suck and some that do.
But why? And if you have a small business, usually this would be the part where we would be more than happy to advertise your small business. But this is a Panic Fest exclusive.
Yeah.
So therefore, this is all about Panic Fest, which is a small business. You consider that it's just a small festival in the lovely city of Kansas City, or also known as Kansas City.
Found
but
City.
Anyway,
Found City.
But anyway, so by any means, Panic Film Fest, I've already mentioned it earlier, literally panicfilmfest.com. I cannot, if you like horror and if you want to see something original, like things you haven't seen in the past, well, guess what? We have the perfect movie for you right now.
We're going to talk to Abruptio, directed and written by Evan Marlowe. You guys will hear him at the end of the episode. But, man, why don't you go ahead and... we said he was in this. James Marsters, Christopher McDonald, Jordan Peele, Sid Haig, Robert Englund. Why don't you go ahead and read the story on for this one?
Les Hackle is a guy down on his luck who wakes to find an explosive device. He has dice. I'm going to start that one over. Les Hackle is a guy down on his luck who wakes to find an explosive device has been implanted in his neck. He now must carry out heinous crimes in order to stay alive while trying to identify the mastermind manipulating the now twisted and strange world around him.
Just so you guys know, this was filmed entirely using life-size puppets.
Life-size puppets. We are not lying. There is no bull crap in this, and we're not talking like we're talking strings.
No. We're talking life-size fucking puppets. Yeah, and they're lifelike too.
We're talking like, and we're not talking happy murder time. We're not talking. If anything, it'd be more diverse. Of like Dark Crystal would be the best. Kind of way to do it,
I guess. Yeah.
But it's humanized. They're humanized puppets. They're not like. They don't look weird. I mean, they look weird, but I mean, they have such human features to them. It's so.
I use the term uncanny valley.
Yeah, it's like you can't stop staring at it.
Yeah,
like it is. It's kind of like when you see your first boob.
You
just can't just like stop staring. You're like, okay.
Yeah. Thank you for showing this to me right now. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm appreciating what you're showing to me right now. Yeah. Thank you very. Oh, isn't that Waterboy?
Yeah, it's Waterboy.
I
Yeah.
appreciate what
Vicky Valley, court show me boobs. I like them too. Yeah.
Show me your boobs. I like him too.
Yeah.
Alligator smack because I'm a baba. Anyway. But this movie. The guy, this was since 2016, I think is when they started.
Working, 2016.
Yeah,
Obama was still president.
Yeah, Obama was still president when this movie was started. Voice recording was actually started in North Hollywood on May 23rd, 2015. The script was written in 2014. And they started shooting in 2016, and they did not finish production until 2022. That's 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years he making Abruptio, and guys, this thing is fucked up in a good way.
I don't know. Like, I can sit here and explain to you everything that happens in this movie,
and you won't get the idea. You won't have an idea.
You would still be like, you could still go watch it. I could detail this movie to the point where I'm saying aliens that come out of uteruses that look like octopuses with human heads out of things that look like something from the Alien, and you'd just be like, what in the blue hell is he talking about? Then you see it and you're like, yeah, that's the best way to describe what I just saw.
And just so you know, when you listen to the interview, Neil actually tries to explain me the title, and Evan said that you're the first one to ask him about the title of the movie.
Well, because when I'm looking these up at home, guys, I just want you to know, like, I try to deep dive a little bit more than what other people are. And to be honest, I watched his other interviews.
Yeah.
I watched them all.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to find a question I know he hasn't got yet.
Yeah.
And I noticed nobody asked about the title of the movie.
Yeah.
So I went and looked it up, what the title of the movie meant. And I deep dived the definition of the word, which actually is about, it's about, what was the medical term is about an abortion. Oh, here it is. Separation of the placenta from the wall of the uterus, especially when it occurs prematurely during pregnancy. Yeah. Now, that is literally what the name of this movie is. Now, the movie and the basis of this movie, as all that fucked up that it is, the basis of this movie is literally the relationship of Les being a 30-year-old male.
35-year-old male.
Well, I was, not going completely specific.
Well, that's okay.
Anyway, but but literally, like, it is a movie about a 30-year-old male, 35-year-old male. Sorry, Chris.
But it's between 30 and 35. I know because I just turned 36, so I remember being 30 to 35. Yeah, it's about.
It is. I was in the middle of explaining for the third time. Do you want me to? Do you want me not to explain what I was explaining?
Go for it, dude. Go for it.
All right. So the story is about Les, who's like a 35-year-old male, and how he needs to separate from his family life. Now, man. Now this movie just takes a turn, and when it already, you got to understand, you're looking at full-size puppets.
Yeah, life like as big as you, me, puppets.
Yes. And
man, just like
it's just one of those movies that it's like, I was trying to explain, it's kind of like when you see Scanner Darkly for the first time, or when you see Dark Crystal for the first time, that because you're looking at something so different than what you're used to, so uncommon than what you're normally used to when looking at a theater, that you're estranged by it. But the thing is, as soon as you get into it and you're like, oh, okay, and you get, like the relationship between Les and his parents, Les and his best friend Danny, him and his relationship between him and Sal, Chelsea, like the way this movie just keeps going on, man,
it's just fascinating, dude. Like
it's fascinating. It has a great story behind it.
Yeah, and like, even if it's crazy, because it's crazy shit happens in this movie, wild, crazy shit happens in this movie, it still has a rhythm that's really good. It's just there,
It's amazing. The dude, literally, I cannot say better words than, if you guys listen to the podcast already, you know that I am one of those guys that I can catch up. I can catch so much foreshadowing. I can catch so many things.
But also, I think what y'all saying is that even if you know the ending, it doesn't take away from the movie at all.
No, it doesn't. But it just sometimes, to me, it's just like, oh, I know where this is going. Now I want to see how they get there. It's not like I'm dissing a movie because I've seen the same pattern over. I mean, books have the same thing where it's like, rising, to your climax and falling action to your conclusion. But I'm just really good at seeing this shit. And man, I did not see half of the shit that was coming forward in Abruptio.
Abruptio. He said Abruptio.
Abruptio. I'm sorry. I literally listened to 4 different ways to say this word. All right. So I was just Abruptio. It's Abruptio, folks. Abruptio. You'll know because the poster be on the thing that you're looking at, that you're listening to, people. You got that? Yeah. Okay. But anyway, Chris, what was your favorite parts of the, like, what was there anything about this movie that put you off? I mean, like, to be honest, we've been talking so good about it. We got to give our down parts.
Okay, so I watched it a second time yesterday, and I liked it, I think, a little bit more. Partially,
oh my gosh.
I know, I'll get to the parts that maybe I didn't like. But no, man, like, he was telling a story that one, like, I've never seen before. I guess the only parts I had, like, and I don't want to talk too much mess because it was really fucking good. It's just, I don't think I could recommend this to my family, in a way that, like, I feel like for you and I, it's about people that, I think it's for people who love movies like you and I do.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those movies that if you try to say to someone else, hey, bro, you should check this movie out, you got to have a friend that's going to like it. Or because if I said, hey, Mom, check this movie out, my mom would be like, what the fuck am I watching? You got to understand, my mom thinks, like, cartoons were too much back then when I was, like, growing up. Like, I'd be watching, like, Thundercats, and she'd be like, the hell is that? I don't get this. I don't get what that's going on, which is a very easy concept to us these days. Now, Chris, I don't know if they even do they have a rating for this
No,
on
man,
Rotten Tomatoes at
I
all?
don't think this has Rotten Tomatoes rating because it's just now getting to festivals, and I really hope people get a chance to see this. Like if it comes to a festival
All
near
right,
you,
so what?
I'm actually checking, but
Let's see here. I'm checking right now for you. Okay, there's an IMDb rating. You can go up to that, I guess.
there are 4 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, is there? Okay, cool. Maybe we can go with that.
Okay,
all right.
I'll
Well,
go
first,
through.
let's get some.
Yeah.
Yeah. First, let's get some quotes that while you review that information.
Okay.
And we'll get to that part. Right. So here's your quotes that I've written down from probably one of the strangest fucking movies I've ever seen in my entire existence on the planet Earth. Oh, I saw the cutest Dalmatian puppy. You would have hated it, though. I hate people that do that. I hate it when people are like, I hate that. When you fall down, the voices laugh at you. You live with your fam who wants to stay the night there. I had to put in a revolving door for all my bitches. Can you feel the scar? Oh, Jeepers Creepers. What kind of bone does a dog never eat? A trombone. I love the small little jokes like that, the little dad jokes they put in there.
Right.
Your problem is you see the world through shit-colored glasses. Mr. Lion, you're my best friend. I want to be with you every day. What do you call a boomerang that doesn't work?
What's that?
A stick. Can I get you a water, tea, vodka? Oh, I had to try. Am I a real lawyer, you son of a bitch?
Oh my god, I forgot about that character.
Are you going to stand there like a bitch or give me a hand? Reach for the sky. Yeah, I pick up on those little one. You know what that's from, right?
Yeah.
There's a snake in my boots.
Yeah, snake in my boots. Yeah, you're my favorite deputy. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry, friend. Just following orders. I can't protect myself out there. Everyone lost their goddamn minds. I can't believe people can just turn into monsters overnight. Oh my god, I wrote down a lot. I didn't even realize how many I wrote. Oh my god, how many more pages do I have?
You can end at any point. There's lots of stuff people need to discover in this movie.
They kept burning after they died. The sounds of them screaming and the smell were horrific. That was a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Do you see it? No? Don't you? Have you ever felt this, Lester? An emptiness you just can't fill? Crazy morning. Missing daddy. It's a real problem. Look it up. Oh, crazy mommy missing daddy.
I was like, what?
It's a real problem. Look it up. That's what I like to hear. A spine. What did one tampon say to the other? Nothing, because they were stuck up bitches.
Oh my god.
Thanks for finally cleaning. Oh, wait a minute. You have to kill them now, Mom. I haven't done anything. Only exactly you haven't done anything. They call it static in the attic. It's a real thing. You should look it up. That's all I got for those. But
my score?
Mm-hmm.
Probably a 4.3. Out of 5. Evan did it.
Out of 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do out of 5. Yeah. Is that what we do now?
That's what
we do out of 5.
It's always done that.
Nice.
What's yours?
What was your score again?
4.3.
4.6.
Wow. Okay.
And you know why?
Why?
You know why, Chris? Because I get bored with fucking movies anymore. No, I don't. I don't get bored with movies. That's not a true statement. I watched like 3 movies today alone.
Yeah.
I like movies more than I like TV. Holy fuck, the originality.
Dude, this
and
is
the work
so
that
creative.
had it going.
So creative.
Okay. Now look, I know the filming of it or the cinematography of it all, you know, it's going to creep some people out.
Yeah.
But guess what? Made me feel awesome. I was all about it. I had a great time. I again don't know who to really say, hey, watch this movie.
Yeah.
But damn, watch this movie.
Yeah. If you like our show, I think you'll like this movie.
If you like us, you'll probably like this movie.
Yeah.
If you hate us, you'll probably hate this movie.
Yeah.
It's just the best. It's just the way to say it. It's just the way it goes.
But yeah, it's a like I said, the 4.3. It's unnerving for some people, but I so much appreciate the originality of this movie.
This movie was very unnerving, but unlike movies like The Whale, Requiem for a Dream, movies like that, I will rewatch this one.
Yeah. I'm with you. I watched it twice. Sorry. So,
yeah. So, blah blah blah. So,
I'm on RottenTomatoes.com.
Thank you.
They don't have they have four critic reviews, but no consensus. So I'm gonna go through them real quick. There's three positive, one negative. I'm gonna go with the negative one first. They get 5.
Okay, what's the negative? I want to hear the negative.
They get a 5.5 out of 10. It says Abruptio is a singular film on almost every level, which makes it worth seeking out fans of weird movies, but has some ideological issues and isn't quite good enough to transcend its niche. Now that's from Kyle Logan at Cultured Vultures. But here's a 5 out of 5 from Stephanie Malone at Morbidly Beautiful. With impressive creativity and craftsmanship, Abruptio is astonishing. A film full of puppets that probes the depths of humanity. It will draw many viewers in on the strength of its unique gimmick, but rest assured, it's far from a one-trick pony.
Yeah, I agree with it there. There's so much weird shit that goes on in this movie. Like, it's not just, it's weird because it's this, it's weird because of that. It is like one of those movies that it just works.
Yeah.
And
it works. It works.
It works, and it's weird and it's different. If you want to see something original, yeah, I can't say words today.
Yeah, we had our day. With you and I had our
okay,
day.
but what's the name of the movie again?
Abruptio.
That's Abruptio. Literally, look it up. All right. Now, again, this is not a normal episode. So now that you've heard two assholes from the Midwest tell you what they think about this movie, and we're going to cut it over to our interview with the one, the only, the creator of a movie that has got us both gassed and, just like in awe of the man who worked 8 years on this film.
Yeah.
Here he is, the one, the only, Evan Marlowe.
It's a show by Chris and Neil with all great movies. They are the real deal. We watch them all, so you don't have to. It's movies that don't suck and some that do.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, it's another episode of Movies That Don't Suck and Some That Do. My name is Chris. My name is Neil.
And I'm Chris.
How did I mess that up for the first time ever? 270 episodes, and I messed that up. And we're continuing our coverage of the Panic Fest Festival, the Panic Fest going on in Kansas City. Now, if you did not get there in person at this point, guys, you can go to the website. You can go to panicfilmfest.com and see all the virtual, as we said. They got plenty of little, it's a little arcade that you go into in a little 18-bit world. Amazing. Make sure to make your way over to panicfilmfest.com. Now, today we are very, very happy to have a movie that I thought was one of the best movies so far I've seen at that I got sent over to my desk. And because again, I'm in Tulsa, so I use that virtual set like most people do that are not in Kansas City, like my co-host Chris is. But we have Evan Marlowe, who has been, man, I can't even, I'm going to bring him on and I'm going to let him introduce his movie and stuff like that, because it is just a great movie. Evan, thank you for coming to our show.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Now, the movie that you've literally been working on for, I think, since Obama was in office. Can you please tell us the movie that you presented to the Panic Fest?
It was called Abruptio, and I wrote it in 2015, and then we've just been trying ever since then to finish the movie. So normally films don't take that long to make, but because of the complexity of this thing and all that, it's just taken so long.
So, So I saw it in Film Fest, and I saw your Q&A. But what was the impetus for the idea of Abruptio?
I really can't remember that much why I came up with the idea of lifelike puppets. You just get this idea, and then you can't shake it, and you keep telling yourself not to do it because it's probably not workable. It's just not an idea that's been done before, and there's probably for good reason. In every step but then you dig the hole deeper and deeper as you make the movie. It's like you can't stop halfway through. You just have to keep barreling on, and it just so then basically the idea of having puppets, you have to go somewhere with it thematically in the script. You have to justify the use of puppets in the writing. So that was the next challenge, making some kind of overriding statement with the movie that, we're all puppets, like the poster says.
So the puppets from the very beginning was your idea with this?
Yeah, I think so. I think ever since the beginning, I wanted to do life-size realistic puppets for some reason.
Now, is it because one night you maybe got drunk and watched like Garbage Pail Kids, the movie, and like saw how that looked? No, I'm just kidding. The lifelike puppet to that, or Dark Crystal would be a good reference.
Yeah, I mean, I love Dark Crystal, but that's not really realistic. Like this is more, and my influences aren't just horror; they're noir and things like that. So, but I just think we get so inundated with the same sorts of things all the time, and I believe, in all my favorites, in all forms of art, are people that just, broke all the boundaries, whether it's Jackson Pollock, or, whatever, the Beatles, everybody trying to move move in different directions in any way they can. And I just don't feel something like this had ever been attempted before. And there was potential for it. So that's why I pursued it.
Yeah. Some of these puppets in there have a sort of uncanny valley sort of feel to them. Like they're just a little bit off. And you're like, that's really unnerving.
Yeah, it's hard for me to see that because I live with these. I treated them like people. They weren't puppets to me, really.
Yeah.
And I directed them like people. So it's when I can understand someone that's a total virgin to this world. Just opening up this movie and watching it can be finding it really unsettling. But it's a little hard for me to feel that now because I've been with it for so many years.
Yeah.
Now, another thing I love about this too was the fact that you got so many great voice talents to come into this movie to work it. I mean, I know Jordan Peele, a big one, James Marsters, Christopher McDonald, Sid, one of his last movies,
Sid Haig,
good old Captain Spaulding, if the people at home that of something recent, and also even Mr. Robert Englund. Now, how did you get this great cast of people to do this for you over time?
Well, I really think it was the puppets that really sold it. If maybe we're doing a cartoon or something like that, it couldn't have been done. But even James Marsters, who admitted that, the script was a little too unsettling and he was really hesitant to do the movie. But then he kind of envisioned it with life-size realistic puppets and he couldn't really resist it. So, and I think Robert Englund felt the same way. It was just something, it was sort of an experiment. Everyone kind of agreed, this is like a weird thing. Can we pull it off? Can we get the audience to feel something, by using these puppets? So I think everyone was kind of intrigued by that idea.
Were there movies that like you said, there's nothing else out there like this, but were there movies you looked at for inspiration in this? I know it's kind of a hard question because, like you said, this is something that's never been done. But like, what were you thinking when you wrote this movie?
Well, I mean, technically, from the puppet standpoint, there was nothing really. I mean, there really wasn't. We didn't have anything to study from that standpoint. We just had to make it up. Fortunately, I surrounded myself with a really good fabricator and a really good puppeteer, so they kind of helped me. But you still, as a director, have to explain everything and give everybody direction, make sure it all becomes a cohesive film at the end of the day. So I just had to, fortunately we had years to do this. And so if I came in, found myself hitting my head against the wall, I could still problem solve over the course of months to figure out a scene and lock. However, I would, if there was something like, getting a puppet to drive or getting a puppet to smoke in the middle of COVID, we had to find some way of doing it, either in camera or with some kind of trickery. And so I managed to do it, but there was nothing really. There was no book I could read to help me with that.
No, I mean, like, it's like, I want to compare it to like Waking Life or Scanner Darkly, where it's something that's so original. You haven't seen that kind of art before on screen. So it's so impelling that, I mean, I couldn't keep my eyes off the screen. I was like sitting here just like, I usually write notes on everything every time I watch a movie because I review movies for a living and I, live in a state where smoking is legal. So therefore, I forget things.
I noticed that. Yeah. At least in Kansas City. I'm from California, so really nobody smokes, but I know people were big fans of it in Kansas City.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah.
So, but like, there were just some imagery that was like, I don't really want to spoil the film for some people, but can we say octopus babies? And, like that not ruin something?
Yeah, that's right.
Like that. I mean, like some of the visuals, it only like. There's things I got hints of, like from looking at certain visuals, like the octopus babies almost remind me of like the Hydra symbol from like the comic book series, or like there was parts that you did with Les, the main character.
I really felt for Les, by the way, the whole time.
Oh my gosh,
I really felt
Les
for him.
was like my boy.
Yeah.
Like me and Les would be hanging out right now if me and Les.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just the impaling of the writing itself, besides the life-size puppets, and the life-size puppets are awesome and all that stuff, but the story itself, even coming the name, which is like a medical term from I looked it up, it's like the placenta detaching from the uterus. So is this about the story of Les moving on in manhood away from being at mom and dad's, like teaching millennials how to move on from mom and dad's house, or what was the aspect behind the story?
I think that's exactly right. I think I mean, it's pretty clear, he stays at home getting nagged by his mom and not really getting much support. He's obviously leeching off them, but he's let his life go to down the tubes and doesn't have anything to show for it after 35 years. So there has to be something motivating him to, cut the cord and move on and become an actual man and move on with his life, sort of a man-child, I guess. But I think I suppose that's why I picked that title. Nobody's talked about it in any of the reviews except for you now. So you're the only person that's figured it out. But I mean,
if you notice, clear, I read.
Yeah. No, you just spend a few seconds. I mean, it sounds like a good title, but it actually is meaningful. I don't really like titles that sound cool and have no meaning to the movie. But I think that's generally the idea here, is that we're trying to. And so, we're illustrating over the course of 94 minutes, the way this guy finally cuts the cord and moves on.
So when it comes to working with puppets, what was the biggest challenge, like, manipulating them? Was there a scene that you just had such a hard time figuring out how to do with these puppets?
Well, generally, since I had a good puppeteer, it's hard to say, because initially we were just kind of goofing around and trying to figure out, and getting the eye line right, having the puppet look consistently in the same location off camera was a challenge. Getting them not, eventually I created a sort of a mild skeleton that I could put the head on. Nice. It was a PVC framework so that the head was really static. Otherwise, prior to that, the head, it's just the puppeteer's arm holding the head up. So in every shot, the head would be a different height. Sometimes it would be right in the center, sometimes it would be the bottom. And, you can't work with that. So, and then there was one puppeteer that's just with the mom character. It's so heavy because it was fabricated for the upper chest, the breasts, and all that.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of our first ones. And so we're trying to figure out how much we needed to fabricate or not. And he was just trying to hold this thing up, and his arm was going dead between every. It just took us all day to get that shot, that scene done, because it was so heavy. So eventually we figured out there was no reason to fabricate the entire body, upper body. That wasn't necessary. I could just get a filler for the top, just a plate, that was lightweight and put it around a PVC frame and just build the head and the neck. So once we did that, it freed up the puppeteer. They didn't have to spend all their energy supporting up the body. They could just work on the performance.
Right
now, there's like very many images that I saw, like searching, because literally I again, this is my dungeon. This is where I live for doing this. Where I even saw the character that was done by Jordan Peele, where you're on a couch and the guy was like, that just like, how many hours did you guys like do filming like per day so you wouldn't get so fatigued from it?
Well, the problem in this budget range is you get 1 day or sometimes 2 days to film something, and you get whatever lights you can bring in. And it's really, there is essentially no crew. It's me and my wife who does, the production design and all that stuff. And I do the directing. And if there was sound, I would do that, and lighting. We have one guy that helps out, our friend of ours, Dickie. So he was kind of my right-hand man, sort of an assistant. But aside for that, for 95% of the film, it was just the 2 or 3 of us. So, you just have to get in, get out, and if you don't get the shot, it's too bad because you can't come back another day. So it really didn't matter how much pain you were in or how uncomfortable. And fortunately, thank God we had this amazing puppeteer, Danny, that would just do whatever we told him to do and just not complain about it and just deliver these amazing nuanced performances. He did almost every puppet, every performance in this movie, and it was incredible. He just understood the parts and came in and did what he was supposed to do, and it just blew our mind. So we did multiple takes mainly because the lip syncing had to be as close as possible.
Right.
So in addition to everything else, I wanted to make sure that the performance had to be good, but the lip syncing had to be good too. And sometimes in post I could go and tweak it a little bit, but I didn't want to do too much of that.
Yeah.
So that's the only main reason why we had to keep reshooting take after take, is to make sure I tried to get the lip sync close, because we did the audio first and then I played it back on loop, and he would lip sync to it. So that was one of the biggest challenges, and I think for the reason why the shoots would go on a little longer than they needed to. But if we had a big crew and it wasn't for all those technical issues, I'm sure we could have spent more time and gotten a lot more interesting things, but this just wasn't possible.
So going through this, there's some things you had to take away from the script because there's no way to actually do it, like with what you're doing?
No, because we managed what I wanted to do. We managed to do. We just figured out ways to do it. But it got to the point where you're 7 years into it, and you're like, let's just be done with this movie. There was another character named Chester, and there was a bunch of other scenes. And I said, you know what? It's just going to set us back another year. We're going to have to spend more money. And the movie works as is. There's just ways we can do it. So let's try to consolidate different scenes here and there, get rid of the character, work other things. We had all the dialogue. It all worked fine. So basically we just lopped off a bunch of, like 10 pages of the script, but another character, and just kind of like made it work with what we had, just because we're tired of spending so many years working on it.
Now, just moving on a little bit here. Now, again, I said to you earlier, I have literally watched your entire, like every short I could find of yours, I watched in the last 48 hours. Yeah. And I noticed there was kind of a consistency in parodies. Like, are you a huge parody fan? Or
you know what? There's a thing called the Oscars that was organized by Brits in LA, and every year around the Oscars time, they would announce the best film nominees, and the Oscars would meet. It was a festive thing, and these are like mostly amateurs, mostly actors at that. These are better entertainment, big entertainment crew. They're mostly actors and some technical people. And we would make parodies of the films, and they were just generally not the best quality, just to have fun. But
I got that. But they made me laugh so hard, especially like Boywood and Wackshaw Fridge. That one was insane.
Yeah. Well, if anyone wants to see some other stuff I do, Breasts of the Southland Wild. I think the poster.
Yeah. No, I see Boywood.
Boywood. Yeah, Breaths of the Southland Wild, which is a satire of Beasts of the Southern Wild. And I think that's one of my favorite ones. Now, when I came into it, I just thought, I'm going to try to make this, in feeling and technically as close to the original as possible. So I think it looked pretty good. The thing is, though, 90% of the best films no one's ever seen.
Right.
So, you make this incredible parody, and most of the audience is sitting there silent because they don't understand the humor. So I don't understand how it's a parody. So you kind of have to throw poopy around if you people laugh, right? Yeah. So like they don't understand the scene. They didn't see Boyhood. So just throw poop at the picture, and that'll make them laugh.
I think there was one scene where a lady was, it was the Breast of Southland, where she was writing in her journal with a piece of dried out poop. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I know the movie it's parodying.
Yeah.
Why? Those are hilarious, though. I'm not gonna lie.
So were you able to keep any of the puppets, or like are they in your house somewhere? Like
yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Now they're in storage, but we had pretty much everything in our house, and we couldn't move around. We have boxes of stuff. We have limbs and lots of fake blood, and all the contraptions we used. We just had to pile it up in the garage, which people walking by our garage would see all these, torsos and things like that. So it was. So our neighbors have a certain understanding of who we are, not necessarily what we do. And so it was, and then we raised 2 kids at the time. Wow. So they're pretty much used to all this now too.
Oh my. So have you guys come up now, because let's be honest, some of your work is a little out there for some people. Now, is there any idea that you have come up with that you've you've thrown out there and everybody's just been like, that's too far? That's way beyond what you need to go with.
I mean, as far, obviously not poopy. We can do anything.
You can do anything with poop.
Anything is acceptable and tasteful. I mean, in Abruptio, my wife is usually the one that pulls me back, because even though she's British, and British have, that kind of sense of humor. Mm-hmm. Really, all sorts of things are funny to them that Americans don't find funny. She pulled, like in that scene with the family, she didn't want me to go as far as I had originally intended with the violence, which was pretty far. And she said, no, as long as you don't do this, we're fine. So my wife is usually the one that pulls me back.
That actually sounds like me and Chris here, because both of us have wonderful wives that literally have to, especially me, because I get a little boisterous. Mm-hmm. And in my younger years, mm-hmm. I was bad. So there's many times my wife had to do the same thing, where she had to be like, maybe this, not that so much. And I'd be like, okay.
Well, it's something, when you're deep in something, you probably don't recognize it, but a lot of times if you don't show something, it works better. And with Jaws, and most recently, like with Nope, with the monkey scene in Nope. I mean, it's all off camera, off screen. I mean, it just works better. And first you want to just rub the audience's face in it, but it doesn't always work out better that way. So having some restraint is oftentimes the way to go.
And it saves a lot of money.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, I'm looking at some of the scenes in this where, I'm not going to give anything away. Puppets' heads explode. Was it hard for you to take that thing that takes so long to build and tear it apart?
Well, the thing is, with that scene, it was done with 2 puppets. Okay. So I had one that was, intact, and another one that had some of its head missing with tubing inside. Yeah. And I just cut mid-sentence and replaced the head and resumed the shot. So that's how I did that. So in case I needed to, I could redo it. And so again, that was one of those examples where I had this idea in my head. I wanted it to what I wanted to happen on screen, but I had no idea how I was going to go about doing it, until I just realized you just had to make 2 heads. And then a lot of the stuff for the decapitation is just CGI, unfortunately. I mean, you can't. The problem is you got somebody's hand in the head, and if you take the head off, you see a hand, and you can't blow off the hand. So you just have to find workarounds for those sorts of things.
Oh man! Now, I lost my page. 1 second. There's other screens right here with a bunch of questions that I've prepared.
All right.
That's why we keep the conversation going. Chris has the other page. That's why we know where to go.
So
go ahead.
Going back a little bit to the short films you had, did you think you'd ever go back and make full features for the box or Trippy? Was it something you want to do?
No,
Yeah. The Box is one of my favorites that you did. By the way.
I like the Box.
Did you write that one, or did you?
Did I? Yeah, I think that was one of those 48-hour challenges. I think, and it had to have like the title. It said The Box, and they had to use like something like an umbrella opens or something like that. You know, have you done those? Heard of them? The 48-hour.
I've heard of those. Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, they'll give you like a title, an action, and then I don't know, whatever thing else, and you have 48 hours to come up with a movie. I think that's what that was. And fortunately, I know a bunch of actor friends, and Dickie also, you know, happened to have a Steadicam rig that weekend. He was just borrowing, I think. So everything just kind of fell into place. By the time I was, you know, I'll go through phases. Like at that time, I was watching a lot of Bergman, so I was trying to work Bergman into it. You know, it just depends whatever mood I'm in at the time, and I guess it shows. Yeah, that actually turned out to be one of my favorite ones. That and another one that got a lot of publicity was Smashroo. That was part of the 50 Kids. Yeah, thanks. That was Chris Jones in England had a 50 Kisses competition where you would put 50 films together that each occur on Valentine's Day with a kiss in them. And, you know, so he put the winning 50 together and made a compilation. I don't know if you can find it online. I think it's somewhere. It's a great
a lot of your collection is actually available on Vimeo.
Yeah,
that's why I watched most of your, like, I literally, if you put in your name, you literally all your shorts pretty much pop up.
Yeah. So Smashroo turned out all right. That won the best picture of the thing. So and that's my wife doing the acting. She did a great job.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time I was into the Butterfly and the Diving Bell, so I kind of pulled that influence into that movie. It just depends what I'm going through, you know, what I'm watching or into at that time. I'll just kind of bring that influence into the movie.
So, what was your, so this is your first Panic Fest, right? Like when coming or
what's that?
Was it your first Panic Fest?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah. First Panic Fest. Yeah.
How did you like it?
Oh, it was great. Everybody's really welcoming. You know, coming from LA or Southern California, where people aren't always that open and welcoming. I mean, they're talkative and they, you know, they'll tell you a lot about themselves, but there was an authenticity to the people that I met at Kansas City. They generally seemed like friendly, warm people. They're all very enthusiastic about horror. And just things that were out there, you know, crazy things, and I appreciate that. And same for right now, we're going in Fanaspoa in Brazil, and it was the kind of same sort of vibe where they just like weird films and horror films, you know, not just things that push the envelope. And I like that about, you know, people. But and it's especially hard in Kansas City. I mean, you're in Missouri, so it's nice to see that pocket of people, because I don't think that's the consensus for Missouri is that sort of person.
Yeah,
no.
It's nice to see. Yeah, it's that kind of person thriving there.
What I like to say, basically in the Kansas City area, because I moved there from Chicago originally. Originally, I'm from Chicago area, and then I just moved away about a year or two ago to. I work in radio down in Tulsa, Oklahoma now. So, but the thing I say about that area is like everybody's like a sponge. They just want to like absorb everything. They don't want to tell you as much of themselves, but they want to know everything they can about you. And I really love that personality on people, because it made me become more of that personality. Because, you know, I was from Chicago. I was the same way as most people from LA, where it's like, oh, me. Let me tell you about me. Me. I did this, I did that. And now I love just sitting back and hearing stories from people more. And I think it is from living that area for more than a decade. So,
yeah, I can see that. Everybody in LA, you know, they have their card ready to go. Everyone's an actor, their demo reel. You know, it's all about them, their product, their brand, or whatever it is.
So
everyone.
I'm going to ask you an impossible question. Do you have a favorite movie?
That is impossible. No, I mean, I'll tell you though, growing up, there's some movies that I just saw over and over.
Yeah.
And probably those shaped me the most when I was really young. And those were like, It's a Wonderful Life, A Clockwork Orange, The Graduate, and then eventually Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
my shirt.
Oh.
But I mean, there's just
I'm
some
from
movies.
Indiana. I'm from Indiana, man. We literally
There you
have the
go.
Indiana Jones theme song memorized in all our heads.
Yeah, no, I
can't
knew
wait
that
for the new one.
whole soundtrack. I could sing that whole soundtrack from beginning to end. But you know, there's just some movies. I don't know if those show in my films per se, but they just sort of motivated me to love film and to want to make films.
Now,
but at this point, right now, I can't say there is a particular film that I would. This is my favorite film.
I know. I tell him not to stop asking that.
No,
question.
no, I think it just
nobody
stokes
has an answer
discussion.
for that, Chris.
fine.
I don't even have an answer for that. And I mean, I got 2 different movies tattooed on my arms. You know, like it's like.
Apparently, it was that one movie that did you see they did that was Sight and Sound survey this year that got everybody so riled up about what was the name of that movie? I don't even remember the name of the movie. I watched it. It was the one we see the housewife go through her day, and it's like 3 hours, just long static shots of this woman going through her day, gradually losing control of herself, but it's very subtle. And
this was at this year's Panic Fest?
No, this was a
no.
This is a sound poll. Yeah.
Yeah, if you look it up, you'll see the number 1 film that they voted was the best film ever made. And no one's ever heard of it.
Nice. But I'm definitely I'm stalking this as soon as I get done.
I would watch it. But you have to live with. I mean, it's not an entertaining movie. You have to sit there and live with that character for 3 hours and see her very subtly, lose control. She's someone that obviously worked very hard to maintain control after her husband died, and you just see her slowly starting to lose control over the course of a few hours. It's a fascinating movie, but I got a lot of people angry because they just don't understand why it would be called the best film ever made.
I actually seen it. I'll have to look it up, but that sounds very familiar to me in the past. Now, Evan, for you, what's coming up in the future for you? What projects you got working on? Because to be honest, now that I've seen your entire, pretty much film history in the last few days,
really
I'm actually excited. I mean, especially after something. And I'm not going to say crazy, but as creative. Let's go. Yeah. It's very as creative as the movie you just did. Like, I can't wait to see what you got next. What are you building in that brain of yours?
Well, while all this has been going on, I've been coming up with ideas and stories, and I do a half-hearted attempt at pitching scripts every so often, but I don't have any connections, and so it's really hard to get your foot in the door. So instead, I just adapted my ideas into story format, the short stories and novels, and I published those under E. Stuart Marlowe, and so those are all on Amazon, just so it's just cheaper to self-publish an Amazon book and get a film produced. But someone can come to me and go, "What else you got?" And I can say, "Well, I've got these other stories." For example, there's a serial killer killing off your favorite fairy tale characters. So things like
love it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got all these books that I've written, and it wouldn't be much for me to adapt these into a TV show or film. But nothing right now is actively going on. I'm just kind of recuperating from this movie. But I have ideas ready.
So, when can people will be able to see Abruptio? What's the plans for wide release so people can see this one?
For distribution.
Yeah, we have festivals lined up and potentially happening through October, November, maybe even December. I get requests. I got one today from festivals around the world asking to show the movie. So I feel like that's like the point of making a movie is to have it seen, to go to these festivals when you can and hear the audience. So I'd like to see that out and then go out to distributors and see, who would have the widest distribution at that point. So we're really in no hurry. We just kind of want to build up our fan base and the buzz about the movie first.
Well, I mean, thank you for sharing it with us. It was incredible.
Thank you.
One thing I do got to add, though, was like what you just said about the serial killer killing fairy tales, fairy characters or storybook characters. This January, a lot of those are the copyrights are coming up. I'm just saying, if you want to throw it out there and film it.
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, thanks.
But I do a lot of filmmakers that are coming up. A lot of our friends, people that we know, do listen to our show. Do you have any advice for up and coming filmmakers? Like, what's the best piece of advice that you can give to someone trying to start their way in filming?
Well, I mean, obviously, film as much as you can. There's no point in studying and not actually going out and doing stuff. So you should try at least. Now it's so easy to do it. You just get a cheap camera or even a phone, which is not necessarily so cheap, but you can still get a pretty good images and just create movies. You should watch as many films as possible. It's impossible to get a hold of some really great films, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I find that the Netflix DVD service, you can get a much bigger selection of obscure movies, and they also on the DVDs have commentary, and you can learn a lot from that.
Yeah.
I would read critics like Roger Ebert and Pauline Kael to not necessarily agree with what they're saying, but to understand how they deconstruct movies and what works and doesn't work. Because a lot of filmmakers become enamored with their idea and they lose sight of it. But these critics, who are the ones that are good and understand film and film history, can go in and explain why something works or doesn't work, and how maybe something is derivative or has been done before. And then lastly, I would just say, you got to live life. You can't just live in a bubble and expect to make captivating movies. You have to get different people's perspectives, travel if you can. And just explore all sorts of things in life, different cultures and foods, sculpture, architecture. Just absorb everything everywhere you go, and then try to work that in eventually into your own work.
That's a fantastic answer. Of all the people we asked,
that's like one of the best answers we've got.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, are there any more questions that you want to go through real quick?
Man, I just want to go back and watch Abruptio again.
Yeah. I feel like you have to. I mean, you just get so smacked in the head the first time through that you probably miss a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, I've watched it twice now, and
all right.
Yeah,
if you look closely, there's tons of things going on. References to different things, movies from the 70s, mythology, things like that.
Yes, I've noticed this. Like, I was actually I can't remember what part it was, but I was watching it because I was watching it here in my lab. My wife's office is right down the hallway in her house, and she was going past the door, and I rewound this part, and I was like, "Look at this! This looks exactly like." And I can't remember what the reference was because literally, I'm not gonna lie, I've watched like 5 movies, and plus all your work in like the last 2 days.
That's a lot.
But there's a scene where I was like, "Doesn't this look just like?" And then she's like, "What the fuck are you watching?"
Yeah, I got that too. Lee came home and she was like, "What are you watching?" I'm watching Abruptio. We're talking to Evan Marlowe, the director, tomorrow. She's like, "Okay." But I guess I did ask. I wanted to ask, as this being made, Jordan Peele went from being just like a sort of skit actor to a Academy Award-winning screenwriter. Yeah. What was that like for you, like seeing that happen?
Well, I mean, he was just a guy that made really great comedy skits, and then we didn't realize when he came into the audio booth, he had this movie in his back pocket that was about to create the, whatever, this elevated horror or whatever they want to call it now.
The Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
What, maybe? What sorts?
Get out.
Oh.
Sorry.
And, so I don't know if it helps our little movie, but it's just an interesting turn of events to have him associated with. He majored in puppeteering or puppetry in college, so that was his interest in the film too. He's like everyone else, wanted to see a movie with puppets in it.
I guess
I was hoping he was gonna.
I have one more question. I think I think I do have another question. So when it comes to designing the characters, how did you Les looks like a real person that you see every single day? Like, how did you? What was designing these characters like? How did you go about doing that?
Oh, here, real quick, Evan. I think I have the answer for you. He met your brother Matt, Chris. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
I had my wife's cousin Janine in England helped. I gave her some ideas. Hey, I want somebody that looks like, so she'd draw something out for some of the characters. Some of them I went online and found references. For Robert Englund's character, our fabricator, I said, I think we should kind of do it like that guy with the Nazi with the glasses from Raiders of the Lost Ark. I said, let's give him. Oh, he said, I understand that. Yeah, he said, I understand that completely. A little slightly upturned nose, the little glasses, I get it. So stuff like that, I would just find references, and then our fabricator just went to town and made these crazy puppets. So it just turned out great. I mean, and I also played him some of the audio so he understood the voice. So I think that helped too, because he kind of designed with the voice in mind.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You there now?
I don't know. I think we kind of went through like literally all of this. I mean, it only took us 3 days to write them all, and I think we did it in like 25 minutes. That's kind of impressive for us. Like we knocked them all out of the park. Oh man.
Well,
Evan, I got a question though.
Okay, sure.
I'm kind of interested in this part of it now. I'm a sound guy. I work in radio. I've done sound overs. I've been the guy that, you know, literally it's like, you buy the whole seat, but you only need the edge. You know, like I literally do that stuff constantly. When you recorded the actor voices, like all this like slew of people, did you just have them record from their own spaces and then send you over the information, or do you have your own studio and stuff?
No. You know, we were in SoCal. There's a lot of, you know, like
that's true.
Yeah, studio. So the first place we went to was a big open room, so it was too much echo or reverb, so it had too big a sound to it. So eventually we moved to a different studio, which was a proper studio, which was, you know, insulated, and we did most of it there. We just had the actor come in, and that way it was just easier for me to direct them. There was one friend of ours that did something from home. That was the nurse. But aside from that, everybody came into the studio with us, and this was all I think pre-COVID, so it was not a problem.
Yeah. I think that's why the question in my head came up, because I know that you guys did stuff and then COVID happened, and that's when you guys got back to production. I didn't know if it was the sound recording itself or the actual puppet.
No, I think we all had almost all of the sound in the can prior to COVID. Okay. And then of course we had to build the whole world afterwards. There was no audio done on set, so we had to have our, you know, all the Foley done and everything else in post.
You know, they had to lip sync it like Ashley Simpson at Saturday Night Live. Like, you remember that?
Yeah. Well, you know, the Dark Crystal, when they did the TV series, I watched the behind the scenes, and those performers recorded their audio, and then the actors would come in afterwards and lip sync to the characters. So we did the opposite, because I didn't want to bind the arms of our of our actors, our voice actors. So I had them do their parts first, and then our puppeteer, and then I did a beep track, and then so he would know when the track was starting,
right?
Nice. And then he would begin to lip sync to them.
That's amazing. Yeah. This is just an awesome movie.
Yeah.
I can't we can't thank you enough for stopping by and giving us your time for doing the interview. But Evan, I'm not gonna lie, I highly appreciate this.
We love this. Thank you.
I love seeing anybody that's new and creative in just movies that has something that is brand new, because, like, you know, I'm a movie guy. I was the general manager of a Blockbuster in '99. You know, like I lived above a one-screen movie theater. Like when I was you know, my first apartment was above a one-screen movie theater and a video store. So I've seen like so many movies. Yeah. To the point where I'm like, you can even ask Chris here. Like, if I see a movie, I can usually tell you what the ending of the movie is before the first 10 minutes is done. I can tell you the entire movie because I can just pick up on all that.
But there's no
shadowing.
There's nothing like that.
No way to do that with your movie.
Oh, thank you.
Movie, like, you know, how all of a sudden I'm going to see, you know, octopus aliens bursting out of shells and people blowing up and you know, and not know exactly how the whole atmosphere of it. So thank you for someone like me, something original and great.
Yeah, very creative.
It just makes me feel awesome.
Thank you so much for having me too. It was lots of fun.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, and you have a good day. You go with Ed. We got to do all the editing and get this.
All right, good. That was fun.
Appreciate it, Evan.
Take care. Bye-bye. See ya.
That's another episode of Movies Don't Suck and Some Do. My name's Neil.
And I'm Chris.
And guys, don't remember, next time someone sticks a hand up your ass, they're not a puppet master. They're just trying to make a good movie. Have a good day.